What's going on, peeps? And today, we're gonna be talking about 21 Pilots. This is a genre-bending alternative rock band known to be the only good thing that came out of Columbus, Ohio, containing lead vocalist, keyboardist, and sometimes guitarist Tyler Joseph, and drummer Josh Dunn. My first experience with their music is certainly unique. To be fair, I didn't know it was 21 Pilots. So I used to be a massive professional wrestling fan years back, and I was obviously buying every WWE 2K game I could find. I acquired WWE 2K16 and found myself listening to the songs from the soundtrack in the main menu. One of them really stood out to me, this insanely high-tempo rock track with rapid pacing rapping where I couldn't make out a single word. I never checked who it was by, so I just dubbed it as White Guy Super Fast Rapping Song. A year later in 2016, a group stumbled upon my radar when I was getting into the Billboard charts for the first time. The name was 21 Pilots, and they had a song, Stressed Out, rapidly rising up the charts. I only had to hear a 7-second sample from Top Music Mafia and I was hooked. I know, I'm a bandwagon, but I stuck around, okay? From there, I began actively listening to that song and Ride on Pandora. I would shuffle the 21 Pilots radio and would always get so excited when those songs came on. However, the station recommended their deep cuts, and soon I was getting addicted to those too. When I heard the intro to Heavydirtysoul, I was like, oh, they made that? Soon enough, I was diving headfirst into their albums in full, something I never really did prior. They ruled my life in 2016 and are still one of my favorite bands today. There are a lot of elements that drew me towards their music. These elements I plan to examine throughout this episode of The Appeal. This series is dedicated to covering controversial or pulverizing musical acts and creators to find out why people enjoy them as much as they do. Even after dropping the highly acclaimed Trench, it's clear that the music reviewing community is quite divided on the band following Skeleton Icy, leading fans like me who have loved everything they've ever released. Yes, even Regional at Best, Taco Bell Saga, the cover of Cancer, and Jar of Hearts. In a weird place, trying to find ways to explain their appeal without looking like a bunch of nut jobs. Now, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest 21 Pilots fan you'll find on the internet, when your competition is people that follow them on tour even out of the country, people that know every breath Tyler took on Self-Titled, and people that are certified FBI agents when it comes to knowing their lore. We're all broken people in this fan base, but I'm not that broken. But you know, I've been a fan for 8 years and been to several shows, so I think I'm a valid source when it comes to determining the band's appeal. I got about an hour of content to discuss with y'all, so everyone gather around for a show that I'd like to call The Appeal of 21 Pilots. Tyler Robert Joseph was born on December 1st, 1988 in Columbus, Ohio, alongside 2 brothers and 1 sister. He grew up in a Christian household where the sounds of bands like Switchfoot and the Christian rap rock group DC Talk filled the air. At first, Tyler was interested in basketball, playing as a point guard for his local high school. This is where he met Nick Thomas, who he once sang the national anthem with before a game. Suddenly, there was a switch in passion after seeing a songwriter perform at a high street club. Despite receiving a scholarship from Otterbein University, Tyler rejected it to pursue music using an old keyboard he nearly forgot about to imitate what other musical acts were doing on the radio. His parents supplied him some recording software and he was off. Throughout 2007 to 2008, Tyler recorded a solo project, no pun intended, using GarageBand inside his family's basement with additional guitar work from Nick. The homemade record was publicized in late 2008 through his Pure Volume account, and his family passing out CDs during 21 Pilots' early days. It's a record so mysterious that nobody even knows the correct track listing for it. It was clearly made during a hard time in Tyler's life, that's for sure. While attending Ohio State University, Joseph met Chris Sala at a party. Recognizing Joseph's songwriting talent and creativity, Sala suggested they start a band. Joseph was impressed by Sala's recording studio and agreed to his offer. Just before their debut performance, Joseph invited Nick Thomas to join the band as well as a bassist. This band would be named 21 Pilots. But there's only 3 members! Haha, so funny 2016 local. So how'd they get their name? The name was inspired by Joseph's study of Arthur Miller's play All My Sons, which tells the story of a man who must decide whether to recall faulty airplane parts and face financial loss or send them out, resulting in the death of 21 pilots. Joseph sees this as a metaphor for the moral crossroads people face where short-term benefits can lead to long-term consequences. Their purpose in making music is to make people think. In 2009, the group moved into a house together where they conceptualized their first album in its basement. The boys would perform all across the Columbus area to garner recognition using funny costumes and acrobatics to make themselves stand out while attempting to convince his family he wasn't a crazy person. After performing for high schools, churches, and clubs, they released their debut self-titled album on December 29, 2009. In 2010, they continued to tour across their home state and put out a few singlets on SoundCloud like a cover of Jar of Hearts and Time to Say Goodbye. The latter got the attention of a Guitar Center employee, Joshua William Dunn. Born June 18, 1988 in the same area, he taught himself to play drums at a young age. He grew up to play as a replacement drummer for Christian rock band House of Heroes before the original one came back to reprise his role. Dunn worked at the same Guitar Center as Chris Sala for 3 years. Sala one day brought in a 3-song demo CD compiled by his local band to show Josh. Josh was impressed with Tyler's rap remix of Andrea Bocelli's Time to Say Goodbye, calling it unique and fresh. Later that week, 21 Pilots were playing a show on May 1st, 2010 at Newport Music Hall that Josh attended. After the show, Josh walked up to Tyler to sing his praises about their show. Tyler actually recognized him from House of Heroes and asked him if he wanted to hang out sometime. A few days later, they met up to talk about their dreams and ambitions, discovering they both had similar goals. After hanging out for a year, Tyler asked Josh to fill in as a drummer for a show on May 6, 2011. Unfortunately, the group was only able to play Time to Say Goodbye before the cops had to shut down the backyard concert for noise complaints. It was at this moment Tyler knew he had found the guy. 2 days later, Chris left the band to focus on his own work, and a week later, Josh was invited back to play at an actual venue this time. Nick would also depart from the band on June 4th due to personal reasons. The lineup was now 2, Tyler and Josh. Just look at those small beans. I would like to apologize. I had to say it once, okay? With the group now being household names in their immediate area, they put out their second album, Regional at Best, on July 8th, 2011, celebrating its release at New Albany High School. There were several webisodes filmed by Mark Eshelman put out to document the album's creation and initial success. After selling out Newport Music Hall on November 19th, they had several record deals on the table. They eventually chose Fueled by Ramen, an imprint for Atlantic Records, cementing this deal on April 30th, 2012. Unfortunately, the label acquired the rights to Regional at Best, leading to the record being discontinued and is no longer available digitally or physically, except on Pandora and Deezer. While many fans consider it to be their second album, the band claims it doesn't really exist. It was pretty much just a placeholder for their merch table. Thankfully, what was left from Regional at Best transferred into their major label debut, Vessel, released on January 8th, 2013. This was promoted by their first single, Holding On To You, that impacted alternative radio stations in 2012, and a music video aired on Fueled by Ramen's YouTube page, a pivotal part of their soon-to-be mainstream success. They went on to tour with Walk the Moon, Neon Trees, and opened for Fall Out Boy before heading on their Quiet is Violent world tour in 2014. Their fanbase continued to grow at a rapid pace through appearances at Lollapalooza, Late Night with Seth Meyers, and the MTV Movie Awards, where they performed Car Radio. They even declined opening for Taylor Swift's 1989 world tour as they didn't want to take shortcuts. I wonder what Travis Kelce thinks about that. Finishing that year with the music video for Ode to Sleep that was recorded over the span of 3 years, showing just how far they had come. On March 16th, 2015, the band announced their new album Blurryface, set for release on May 19th, 2015, and also released the lead single Barely Local. In the lead up to the album, the band put out Tear in My Heart and Stressed Out before launching an official Twitter account for the character Blurryface to allow fans to get to know the character. Tyler also married his longtime girlfriend Jenna on March 28th. Blurryface was released on May 17th, 2015, selling 147,000 copies in its first week, becoming their first #1 album on the Billboard 200, despite Blurryface leaking it a week prior on Ghost Tunes. Not the first time the L word will be mentioned today. The album went on to become a defining record of the 2010s. The band embarked on the Blurryface tour on May 11th, 2015, 2015 to promote the record. But something unexpected happened during this time. The latter song I just mentioned, Stressed Out, was sent to mainstream radio stations in November and immediately caught traction. It brought the band to new commercial heights, catapulting up the charts until it reached number 2, just being stopped by Justin Bieber's Love Yourself. It was followed up by another sleeper hit, Ride, that became a top 5 hit alongside it. Stressed Out was eventually certified 13 times platinum, and Ride earned a 9 times platinum certification. Shortly after, they started the Emotional Roadshow World Tour on May 31st, 2016 to embrace their newfound audience. On June 16th, 2016, they released Heathens, the lead single for the Suicide Squad soundtrack. With the movie becoming a box office smash, the single also peaked at number 2 on the Hot 100, being blocked by Closer by the Chainsmokers. It has since been certified 11 times platinum. The final single from Blurryface was Heavydirtysoul, that became a massive hit on alternative stations, but was just way too weird to cross over to mainstream formats. The unbelievably successful era closed out on June 25th, 2017, follow a run of hometown shows in Columbus known as Tour de Columbus, leading us to July 7th, 2017, where 21 Pilots announced a hiatus after a series of cryptic tweets of an eye closing. During this period, the band remained silent on social media and did not make any public statements. Meanwhile, a mysterious website called dimaorg.info surfaced, featuring cryptic images and messages that hinted at their upcoming album and new era. We'll get to that stuff later on. A full year later, on July 9th, 2018, the eye began to open. 2 days later, we were awakened at 8 a.m. with 2 new songs, Jumpsuit and Nico in the Niners. An hour later, Trench was announced and scheduled for October 5th. While this era wasn't nearly as successful as Blurryface, mostly due to the more experimental territory they decided to embrace, the album still debuted at number 2 with a record high of 175,000 copies, being blocked by A Trench is Born. A certain L word didn't help matters. From late 2018 to mid-2019, they embarked on a global Bandito tour. Plus, Josh Dunn finally tied the knot with longtime girlfriend Debbie frickin' Ryan. And then lockdown hit. On April 9th, 2020, 21 Pilots released Level of Concern, inspired by the COVID-19 pandemic and suggested by Tyler Joseph's mother. The band donated parts of the proceeds to Crew Nation, a charity supporting live music crews affected by the quarantine. To pass the time, Josh and Tyler recorded a new album remotely, exchanging ideas from their separate studios. They teased the new era in January 2021 with the official announcement on April 7th, 2021, and released the lead single Shy Away with a music video. Blurryface even came back from the dead on Twitter to leak the album title. Their 6th studio album, Scaled and Icy, an anagram for Clancy is Dead, and a play on Scaled Back and Isolated, was released on May 21st, 2021. It debuted at number 3 with 75,000 units sold, a major backslide from their previous album. It doesn't help that certain fans trashed it from the get-go. Either way, the band strived to make the album a major event for fans with a concert livestream featuring performances from Scaled and Icy and previous records. They also promoted the record with the Takeover and Icy tour spanning from 2021 to 2022. A year later after the album was released, the concert livestream premiered in movie theaters for a limited time, earning 1.5 million worldwide. Hot take, something tells me that if Trench and Scaled and Icy were swapped in terms of release, 21 Pilots would have been a whole lot more mainstream following Blurryface. The pop leading sound of Shy Away could have ruled the airwaves in comparison to the hard rock sound of Jumpsuit. Maybe Tyler did this on purpose. Anyway, on February 15, 2024, the band updated their cover art for their albums Vessel, Blurryface, Trench, and Scaled and Icy on streaming platforms, adding red tape over the eyes. Plus, fans worldwide received letters from the sacred municipality of Dima. On February 17th, a new logo was unveiled through global posters and billboards. On February 22nd, the duo released a video titled I Am Clancy, which recapped the Dima storyline, narrated by Tyler Joseph, who was revealed to be Clancy. On February 28th, they announced the song Overcompensate, which premiered on February 29th. The next day, they revealed their 7th studio album Clancy. At first, it was set to release on May 17th, but it was postponed to May 24th to allow the band to create music videos for each song. They're that dedicated. The rollout continued with Next Semester and Backslide, as well as The Craving. On May 6th, the band announced listening parties that would take place in select areas across various countries from May 18th to May 23rd. I went to one myself. But you can't have a 21 Pilots album without a L-word situation. Clancy will be promoted through the Clancy World Tour, as well as 5 traditional small-scale concerts for the most diehard fans titled An Evening with 21 Pilots. It was certainly a great return to form for all fans, with the people who abandoned ship after Skill Nicey suddenly crawling back now. Don't think we forgot about what you did. Now that we know the history of these boys, what was it about their music that attracted us to them?
Wise men say.
While Tyler has managed to look like the exact same person for the past 15 years, his singing ability has certainly gotten even better as he's matured. He was around 20 years old when he began making music with barely any professional vocal lessons besides that drama club he was in. It didn't scare him from singing at school assemblies and basketball games. Just take a look at this demo. How do I say this? He doesn't have the most impressive vocal range in the world. It's what he does with his vocals that makes him special. The emotion he's able to convey with each track is heartwarming and raw. He's great at showing the right amount of vulnerability. He knows how to sell his songs, leaving us to believe in everything he says about himself. He's a tenor that'll occasionally hit oppressive high notes like on Lovely and Redecorate, then commonly uses his falsetto for tracks like The Judge and Saturday. He'd be a good lullaby singer, especially with those lower sections of Next Semester and Bandito. So yeah, he's not the most impressive vocalist I've ever heard, but those screams? Powerful! Inject those screams into my veins, bro. You hear those screams live, such as his performances of Jumpsuit, Goner, Car Radio, Kitchen, Sink, and Ride. He usually has a major build-up before that moment of relief. It feels like Tyler just releases all of his demons that have been tampering with him for years when he hits those notes. His incredible screaming ability makes up for the comfortable range he has by default. I don't care. Their fans get some sort of physical reaction when they hear him. Legitimate goosebumps, man. They're just so heartfelt, dramatic, and raw. Specific songs just wouldn't be nearly as memorable without those moments. When people tell you that they want to scream into a pillow due to how stressed they are, this is what they imagine they sound like. He uses repetition in such a cool way where he starts by saying a phrase in a softer tone before increasing the tone each time he says it, until he's practically screaming his head off. The emotion is on full display here, making each line hit despite being the same phrase over and over again. Besides singing, Tyler isn't afraid to incorporate rapping into his art. He can do a bit of slam poetry on the streets. That's how we got Heavydirtysoul. Once again, not the craziest rapper I've ever heard, he's very white. His whiteness is especially present on the feature he did for his college friend Joseph on Live, where he sounds so completely out of place from the rest that it's hilarious. He randomly disses Drake, which is aged well. You can recognize the Eminem influence when he raps, as he also lifts his voice using a lot of vocal resonance. It's the emotion he portrays as well as his flow. It's incredibly smooth as he glides over instrumentals someone wouldn't typically rap on. Despite these factors, I find myself intrigued by his abilities. There's something charming about it, like he's able to rap pretty damn fast, especially on Kitchen Sink, Heavydirtysoul, and Ode to Sleep. It got to the point that when I was just becoming a fan in 2016 to 2017, I would practice all of his rap verses until I nailed them. I know I'm not alone here, trying to outdo that Anthony guy. You know what? For old time's sake, every time my self-suspicion is taken, I'll give him a crowd that's forgotten. To be honest, 21 Pilots might as well be their own genre at this point. How many styles have they incorporated into their music over the years? It's gotta be in the hundreds. Breaking down the production style can certainly come down to one main topic: happier, upbeat instrumentals with dark, depressing lyrics. It's certainly a bizarre tone that is especially common if you follow acts similar to them. I don't have any problem with this, as when I was depressed, I didn't want to feel more depressed, right? I wanted a chance to feel free and get up and dance a little bit. It becomes more of an anthem instead of drowning in your poor self-esteem. Our brains are sick, but that's okay. The band's production has certainly evolved over the years, starting off putting focus on the piano with the backing of drums and bass guitar on self-titled. There's this aggressive ambiance on implicit demand of proof, air catcher, friend please, and trapdoor that just bleeds of angst before jumping into cleaner piano rock tunes like Fall Away, Isle of Flightless Birds, and The Pantaloon and Johnny Boy that deliver the same message in that more lighter tone I talked about. The biggest outlier here is one of my favorites, Oh Misbeliever, that is straight up an unofficial Christmas jingle with magical strings and a cassabell, which really makes you feel like you're back in the winter season instrumentally. A Car, A Torch of Death, and March to the Sea in comparison are certainly more minimalistic with soft guitar, synth, and piano touches that direct you towards the lyrics, leaving us with the sorrowful taxi cab, attic of a pen, and before you start your day that just make you feel pain. The production, while it isn't nearly as ambitious, paints a grim picture. Once you bring in Josh for the regional best and Vestal sessions is where the drum work truly starts to shine. Like seriously, how is Josh able to squeeze a drum set literally everywhere he goes? Tyler bringing in that keyboard to dabble in synth pop helps light up the mood of both records. The drum work on Guns for Hands, Migraine, Ode to Sleep, the Run and Go, Car Radio, and Trees is phenomenal. Good work, Josh. I've always liked the happier sounding piano led piece Glowing Eyes, the angelic dream pop sound of Ruby, and the Nintendo video game aesthetic of Forest. Play that song over any Mario game, it matches perfectly. Plus there's tracks like House of Gold and Screen that make me want to learn a ukulele. If your music hits so hard they want to learn certain instruments, you're doing something right. I don't know. For all my EDM heads out there like my friend Ben Riggle, you might find some enjoyment out of the electronic beat drops and instrumental breaks during Slow Town, Anthema, Clear, Fake You Out, Semi-Automatic, Lovely, and Shrees. The well-timed tempo changes during the Run and Go, Semi-Automatic, Ode to Sleep, and especially Guns for Hands still give me an energetic feeling like I'm entering into a different dimension. To break the fun, there are a few downbeat touching pieces like Truce, Kitchen Sink, and Be Concerned. I just love the little bits and pieces they incorporate into these songs that catch your attention and keep you engaged throughout. The mood of the Blurryface era is certainly darker with heavier sounding instrumentals with hints of hip hop and reggae. We start to see the instruments run wild and loose. It feels ominous and intense with Tyler's anxious self-doubt sinking in. The high energy blood rising verses of Heavydirtysoul, the massive final hook of Ride, the beat drop on Heathens and Lane Boy that closes out the track, Fairly Local's pounding synth rock drum step combination, and of course, the powerful, smashing outro of Goner that catches everyone off guard first listen. Not every song is heavy though. We get some moments of ukulele bliss on We Don't Believe What's on TV and The Judge. Love the tempo change on that song, by the way. As well as anthemic indie pop like Tear My Heart, Stressed Out, and Not Today. Blurryface is quite diverse. You'll get your reggae-inspired cuts Ride and Lane Boy, electro trap fusions like Doubt, Pulverize, and Message Man. There's a reason it's their most popular album. There's a song for everyone, I feel. The final key detail, seeing how Goner leads right back into Heavydirtysoul, creating this endless cycle. If you thought Blurryface got intense, Trent sounds like it's putting up a fight with an even rougher, grittier experimentation that lets it rip. I don't think anyone expected to be head-bopping to a 21 Pilots song. Jumpsuit and Pet Cheetah's hard rock atmosphere that absolutely kicks ass. Jumpsuit perfectly transitions into the rap rock Levitate. With that ground being established, we move into funky disco tunes, Morph, Cut My Lip, and My Blood containing sick bass guitar melodies. We come back to this funky vibe with the more low-key wholesome Legend and Smithereens, some trip hop on Chlorine, reggae influence Nico and the Niners, and stellar 90s indie rock touches for the hype that includes a well-deserved ukulele bridge. This makes the ballads stand out, especially the piano-led Neon Gravestones that is downright depressing. Benito starts slow but builds up to a well-earned synth-led finale, quite a bizarre tone for a theme song, might I bad, concluding with the jarring leave the city where the entire time it sounds like it's building up to something climactic, only for it to fade away at the last second, only cementing his defeat. He put up a fight and lost. This loss places him in an uncomfortable position where instead of having control, he's the one being controlled. Scaled and Icy definitely includes great sounding tracks, but the risks aren't as present. It's great to see Tyler pick up a electric guitar and level of concern. The first 9 fit as perfect propaganda, radio-friendly music with cheery light tones. As someone who enjoys mainstream music, I don't mind the sound. Digestible indie rock like Formidable and Never Take It, airy piano rock like Good Day, Mulberry Street, Choker, and Bounce Man, driving synth pop like Shy Way and The Outside, and of course, the Diamond Certified Dima classic, Saturday. Overhated, by the way, it's a bop. The last two are a lot different. No Chances will get your blood pumping in the gym thanks to the dark synth pop trap fusion, along with those pleasant gang vocals, ending with the dark alternative rock redecorate that lives up to its name as Tyler breaks free, redefining the narrative. After a great time of reflection, Tyler returns with the hip-hop breakbeat fusion of Overcompensate, warning his enemy of what's to come. I've seen people call Clancy Trench 2 and Blurryface 2. In my opinion, this record is a fusion of their entire discography so far. The aggressive piano rock ambiance of Vignette is reminiscent of Self-Titled with a synth solo on the bridge that had me ascending. Midwest Indigo has a synth lead that reminds me of the regional Best Days. The chill, relaxed trip hop of Snapback could have been included on the record too. Jenna's version of The Craving reminds me of the quieter moments of Vessel with that acoustic guitar solo. Backslide is quite similar to the rap rock of Stressed Out, and Routines in the Night fits in with that electro-pop trap fusion for the record, Blurryface. Then there's the best song of the entire record. I don't care what Tyler says. The funky disco elements of Navigating could match up to Trench quality, especially with that hard rock guitar build up to a danceable chorus that gave me goosebumps when I heard it for the first time at the event. Almost reminds me of Blinding Lights. The pop punk inspired Next Semester could be a nice cousin for The Hype. I find Paladin Straight to be the finale that I bet Tyler wishes Leave the City could have been lyrically. Instead of accepting his loss, he could have had the chance to confront his demons instead. Placing Snapback and Oldie stations with the carefree vibe of Scaled and Icy. Lavish could make for great propaganda music too. So yeah, these guys are truly breaking boundaries when it comes to how many lanes they can cross into. They aren't gonna stay in theirs. It's the reason that their songs sound completely different from one another. Their ambition to experiment and try new things with each record while still keeping that 21 Pilots sound intact is impressive, making the lyrics even more powerful. The few, the proud, the emotional. The clique consists of a select few, no matter the size, that take pride in their identity while also being emotional and are proud of that. If it gets heavy here, I'm sorry. Tyler Joseph has been open about his struggles with mental health, dealing with depression, anxiety, self-harm, and schizophrenia. I just hope he's been slowly getting over these struggles as the years have passed. Joseph has a 3-part tattoo symbolizing something that saved his life. He has explicitly stated that he does not want the meaning of his tattoo shared online, just like he doesn't want it to be known what a kitchen sink means to him. I completely respect that decision. Something so personal to him should not be revealed unless he wants it to be revealed. That being said, Tyler uses his music as a way to cope with his darkest moments, putting them on paper even if he doesn't end up releasing the song. For example, the second verse for his song Drown was taken and used for Fall Away on Self-Titled. He might take bits and pieces of forgotten songs and include it on a new one. I want to talk about the ones I found to be the most powerful. I'm gonna try my best here. Trapdoor finds Tyler fighting with his depression that is slowly eating him alive as he pretends he's okay. Tyler wants us to be aware of people that are on the edge of falling through these trapdoors, likely referring to hanging. It's clear to everyone that the person is suffering and about to fall through this trapdoor, yet they make minimal effort to prevent it. Friend Please sees Tyler encouraging a friend of his to stay alive, letting him know that life is worth it. He promises. These situations keep him up at night, suggesting these people who deal with suicidal thoughts to turn their guns back into a fist. He wants his listeners to fight depression and not let it take them alive. He knows they have this ability to hurt themselves, suggesting they point that energy towards anything else but themselves. Car radio is of course about someone stealing his car radio in college. The only thing that kept him distracted from those inner demons in his mind. He believes quiet is violent, as without the distracting sound, his mind and imagination can run wild. Music transports him into another place, stopping him from overthinking. Sometimes to stay alive, you have to take a break from active thinking. The forced isolation amplifies the noise of his thoughts, which aren't always positive. They can be depressing thoughts and a contemplation of suicide. As simplistic as truth is, there's always been something so powerful about it that makes you want to bawl, letting those bad parts of you die so you can sleep at peace at night. We're all gonna die at one point, but our goal should be to die knowing we lived a life free of this illness, similar to Redecorate, this feeling of tying up loose ends before we leave. We know it's gonna come one day, meaning we should be able to take our time and enjoy this ride we call our life. You'll have these migraines that will inform you that something is wrong. It should not be ignored. That issue needs to be addressed. You can be fighting with something like addiction on Vignette, making up excuses that this thing is not for me, it's for somebody else. That's a problem. It shouldn't be glorified as described in neon gravestones that criticizes societies like vialism that romanticize the taking of your own life no matter what social stature you are. You might not be able to change what you've done in the past. Maybe you've attempted before. It's important to move forward. Start fresh. We'll try again. It's clear that based on his own experiences, knowing that he's thankfully still alive with us, he wants all of us to take care of ourselves and make ourselves feel loved even if we don't feel loved. The group promotes mental health awareness not only in their music but on every platform they have. Knowing there are millions around the world that relate to their experiences makes them feel as good about themselves as we do. We're not alone, and nobody should feel like they are alone. The band wants to take action and bring attention to these issues no matter what it takes. Depression may not be curable, but a saved life is a saved life. Your life is valuable. You matter. You may be another light in the sky of a million stars. We still care about you. Everybody has a purpose in this world. You are loved by someone. Just know that. This is a big element for me personally as a Christian, and I'm sure I'm not alone here. Their music is for all walking forms of life, which I completely respect. Tyler grew up in a Christian household and was homeschooled. Both Tyler and Josh still identify as Christians today, even if they don't entirely know how to talk to people about it. Their faith still has an influence in their music, especially on Self-Titled. I obviously wouldn't call them a Christian band because while they do have songs specifically about the Lord, it's not the center point of their music. They're just a band that happens to be Christian. Big difference. Tyler might appear on a Christian artist like Whittaker's song or sing O Come Emmanuel for a local church. They even refuse to cuss in their music, similar to NF, and avoid explicit subject matter, mainly because they consider swear words to be filler words that can be expanded upon much more. It's clear in their lyrics that Tyler's relationship with God is complicated, where he finds himself losing that faith, especially on Trench, yet he still begs God to not forget about him. He doesn't want to take much of his time, only enough for his heavy dirty soul to be saved by Jesus. I'm sure this is quite relatable to religious people in general who fear that their God isn't watching over them and letting them fall on their face. It's all part of this process to redemption, and I think Tyler knows that. He can come so close to quitting this march of life until he hears that voice in his head telling him to follow me instead. Part of me feels Paladin Straight is him trying to do his best to make his way to heaven. Even on A Car, A Torch of Death, he understands why God died for our sins to save people like us from eternal suffering. There's even cases where he feels like there are angels living among us on Ruby. He takes the opportunity to tell their dad, the father, he's sorry, confessing his sins, knowing he hasn't talked to him in quite some time on Attic with a Pen. He begs for mercy just to set him free, declaring him as the judge. Tyler will then plead with God to drown him in love to help him through this challenging period. When he feels as if he is a goner, he calls out to him, trying to drown out the noise of Blurryface, screaming, hoping to be freed from its control. Still, he feels his presence on trees, even if he can't figuratively see him. The beauty of their music is that you can make multiple interpretations out of their songs and you won't be wrong. Even if you're an atheist, you can twist the meaning into something like, oh, he's talking about Blurryface. It's just another layer of relatability demonstrated by the group. They find a way to match the exact scenario you're going through and navigate you to the right line. To keep the relatively wholesome mood going, another message to take away from their music is that family matters. Sometimes Tyler takes a break from talking about his personal struggles to dedicate songs to his family members, including his grandparents, parents, siblings, wife, and children. He knows without them, he wouldn't be the same man he is today. First of all, The album cover for their 2013 record Vessel that features the boys' grandfathers from their dad's side. Dunn's grandfather Earl Dunn is on the left, who died shortly after the album's release, and Joseph's grandfather Robert Joseph is the man on the right, who died on March 17, 2018. Tyler later paid tribute to his grandfather on Legend from Trench, where most of the song was written before he passed from Alzheimer's, adding in that sweet outro hoping to have lunch with him again on the day that it happened. Tyler explained that our body is like a vessel, containing something much more significant than its exterior. When we die, that essence is released and continues to exist. It only hits harder now that they've passed, proving that you should find your grandparents or someone of age just to pay some respect for the path that they've paved. They were dedicated to their life, something that should be celebrated. In order to uplift his father Chris after being fired from his job as an admissions director, he wrote Johnny Boy for Self-Titled. It was written in 2008 during the Great Recession, a great economic collapse that affected millions financially like his family. Tyler's father loves his family, and Tyler knows that's what truly matters. However, his father is deeply affected by feeling looked down upon by others due to his current situation. Possibly sitting by himself thinking of those better years, Tyler reassures his father of what's important. He's still the loving husband and father, fixing things, caring for them, and most importantly, he's still their pride and joy. The ukulele-led House of Gold from Vessel expresses his commitment to his mother, where he vows to take care of her when she's old, doing whatever he can to make her feel royal and healthy. Even if his dreams are dead, he would be there for her, as proven as on We Don't Believe What's on TV. He knows he'll have his loved ones no matter what happens in his career. This can be applied to his brother Jay Joseph, who is also a musician that opened for his brother's band on the Takeover tour. Shy Away was dedicated to Jay, encouraging him to pursue his ambitions in the music industry. He pushes Jay to get out of the house and find purpose outside. Tyler better not catch him lying around. Jay listened and has since put out an album and several singles. All it takes is that letter of encouragement from someone. It can completely change your perspective. You need to look at the bright side of life when you're pushing off that pressure you experience. You could be in the crowd of your daughter's first dance recital. My Blood's message of lifelong loyalty and defense towards his relatives was inspired by his sister Madison's daughter Mia. Finally, let's talk about his string of tracks about his wife, Jenna. Starting with Tear in My Heart, detailing her importance in his life as she's almost his protector against his insecurities or Blurryface. Tyler has proven that he'll go to great lengths just to protect her as well, even stepping up to a dude much bigger than him on Smithereens. She can bring down his level of concern and is committed to being by his side always on Formidable. She even encourages him to focus on his music and doesn't always mind being the center of attention, especially when he's creating. Friends can wait another day. Concluding with The Craving, where Tyler wonders if he's putting in enough love for Jenna. He hopes that if he's ever locked down in chains, that she would come looking for him out of distress. With 3 children now present in their lives, it's safe to assume that they would do anything for each other. This proves that while this group can certainly get pretty dark in their subject matter, they know how to lighten the mood with some genuine sweetness.
Nacho Bel Grande, cheesy gordita. I like your nachos like diarrhea.
If you follow the band's social media activity, you would find it hard to believe that their music and personality appears to be the complete opposite, with exceptions to songs like Lavish that openly mock wealthy bishop billionaires who take advantage of others to further cement their lavish status, and the hidden Josh Dunn shoutouts on The Judge, Morph, No Chances, and Overcompensate. Plus, Tyler's unique pronunciation and writing style might lead you to mishear a statement, which can certainly result in a good laugh. For the longest time, I swear this man was saying tonight, 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 oh, on Pulverize. And speaking of being misled, make sure you don't click on a specific video for chords and words. That's all I'll say. But don't be afraid to embrace the magic of no pun intended era cult classics like Taco Bell Saga and Coconut Sharks in the Water. Whenever life gets depressing, sometimes you just gotta sing. Have these funny bits like Tyler having to run to the bathroom mid-set because he ate too much Taco Bell. They create this sense of comedic relief to break away from the heavy subject matter, giving struggling listeners a chance to feel joy. There was a time when 21 Pilots were pretty popular and vying for their complete randomness, like Josh being kicked out of the band and Tyler working out while eating a bagel. Imagine flipping your TV around to find a hidden room with Josh Dunn laying on a bed. Every emo band has a silly side, I guess. How about the duo using their glutes to beat a Happy Wheels level while laying on a couch together? There goes Spencer. How about the duo going back to their Ohio roots to harvest some crops? How about the 21 Pilots debate that ended in a tie? I love the fact that they don't take themselves seriously and just try to be everyday people with a sense of humor. These are the same people who accepted a Grammy Award in their underwear because years before they were famous, they were watching the Grammys with friends and realized everybody was in their underwear. From that day, they made a pact that if they ever won a Grammy, they would receive it in the same way. Everybody just appreciates how authentic they are. Sometimes in life when you're stressed, you just gotta get over it, man. Even the biggest 21 Pilots critics like Brad Takes the Music can't even deny that these boys put on a hell of a live show. I've been to 2 of their shows where I was seated for both shows, but I still found myself to be involved in the show somehow. Whether it was him randomly entering the crowd during a ride, having the entire arena harmonize when he plays a specific chord, or having each section at a time hold up their phones during Mulberry Street. The band knows how to get everyone, including the pit, involved with the show. Sailing Tyler across the Paladin Strait of fans using a mattress in Drum Island, where the crowd holds Josh and his drum set up to perform. I'm so excited to be in the pit for my 3rd show this September. Gonna use all my muscles to carry that, man. From shiny visuals, incredible music, and a lot of Tyler screaming moments, and the stellar crowd engagement, you're gonna have a good time no matter where you are. Safe to say, it's gonna be way different than any other live show you've ever been to. Including the surprise factor of these shows where you don't always know what's going to happen, unless you stalk Setlist FM. Besides embarrassing incidents like forgetting your own lyrics and breaking your guitar in accident, Josh might randomly hit a backflip off Tyler's piano during Holding On To You, that was sick, and wear weird masks. But you have to remember that 21 Pilots have a deep catalog of 7 albums now where they obviously won't get the time to play every song of theirs. On specific nights such as those small venue shows targeted towards the most dedicated fans that literally require secret codes acquired by challenges to get tickets, there will be exceptions where they'll bring an old deep cut back from the dead, knowing their fans will know the lyrics either way. It could be from self-titled or regional best. Die-hard clickies are a different breed. They recently started playing Trapdoor for the first time since 2009. They could probably play a track from No Pun Intended and the entire front row will be sobbing, but singing every word. I know people that have gone to over 100 of their shows. I definitely can't blame them for wanting to relive that experience over and over again. But then again, I also feel bad for their bank account. There's no way working at Starbucks or McDonald's for a year can get you that much to work with. They'll do everything in their power to get up close and personal, including camping outside of the arena overnight to make sure they're first in line. Not even Swifties have to do this. Basically, if you're trying to get barricade for Harry Styles, NF, and 21 Pilots, you're gonna have to bring a tent and a blanket if you want to even catch a glimpse in the pit. Okay, that's an over-exaggeration, just know you're competing with psychopaths. Either way, you're gonna have a great time at a 21 Pilots concert that somehow makes the music sound even better. The presentation of this set list and how every song has a purpose. I haven't even talked about the Skilled Icy livestream event. Crap. Following 130 rehearsal hours and 13 days to set up the damn thing, the livestream experience was a 21 Pilots concert broadcast on their official website on May 21st, 2021 for one-time viewing. It later premiered in theaters a year later, so that was a lie. It showcased songs from their 6th album, Skilled Icy, released the same day, as well as other tracks from their catalog. The performance was set on a fictional TV show called Good Day Dima with hosts Dan and Sally, featuring many Easter eggs related to the band's lore. The colorful, intriguing visuals alongside well-timed choreography made for a fabulous experience that I would totally recommend if you could even view it anymore. The boys set the bar high for what a live stream concert should be. Given the fact that we're out of COVID times, I doubt we'll see anything like it again. It only makes sense to talk about their art style following that section that I find to be fascinating. Their way of making each era stand out font and color-wise, even switching up their band logo to match the ongoing theme. The self-titled era from 2009 to 2010 technically had this theme of gray and black colors to represent this depressing, dark lyrical content recorded in a dimly lit basement. This gave Tyler an outlet to pour out his emotions, honest thoughts, insecurities, memories, and hopes, as seen within the cover art with that man lying on his bed unnaturally literally, almost like he's been crucified to it, as his head leaks colorful liquids that you'd assume are the memories, hopes, and insecurities I was telling you about. These are the sort of night terrors that keep you up at night and wouldn't be something you'd typically want to talk about openly. The band skillfully translates the visual concept of this album cover into their music. There isn't a whole lot to talk about besides 3 white guys trying to make it out of the Columbus scene. Their style would get far more interesting come 2011 with the arrival of Josh Dunn leading up to the regional best era. We see the first version of their iconic logo that is just like a kitchen sink. Only Tyler knows what it truly means to the band. For now, we just assume it's a symbol that represents 21 Pilots as a group. When you see it out in public, you can safely assume that it has something to do with the band and gives you encouragement to stay alive. The blue, black, and red colors could represent the regional best and festival era as this colorful, happy sounding music with dark lyrics. More instruments being added to the mix with ukuleles and synth being more present. Josh came through adding more aggressive, intense drum work. It was music that could be easier to play at shows. Trees is a perfect finale with Holding On To You, Ode to Sleep, Guns for Hands, and Migraine being show-ready tunes. Around this time, they debuted their first official music videos, unless you count Tyler screaming Forest in the Columbus streets in an early version of Goner that Tyler passionately played in the streets using an accordion. Their debut single, Holding On To You, is a black and white display of the band fighting with their demons that wear skeleton face paint while performing choreography. House of Gold features both members severed in half to represent this feeling of being half and half with their family musical career. Guns for Hand is more minimalistic, where they constantly try to mask themselves to hide their issues from others. The most iconic music video from this era is Car Radio, where Tyler shaved his head almost as a way of being vulnerable to his audience, which he later embraces in the second half, sporting a white mask where he has the entire arena stand completely still until the drop. He then crowd surfs back into the stage and passes out once the song ends. The video for Migraine is only available in Europe, featuring this race to the rooftop to perform that Josh clearly wins, and Shrew sees Tyler playing a piano inside the Columbus streets one last time. Leading us to the Blurryface era with a logo change to red and black, colors that represent the character well. Tyler wears dramatic black paint to help get into this character based on his insecurities. The red color represents passion, violence, and rage that he feels. The album includes 9 circles that represent the 9 bishops of Dima, all being some sort of insecurity as told in the songs, beginning with Fairly Local that features the first Blurryface appearance shot into a dark, menacing, abandoned building. It describes the conflicting sides of Tyler's personality, the one trying to destroy Blurryface and the insecure side of himself that is Blurryface, as both verses imply. His wife Jenna even gets the chance to beat up Blurryface on Tear My Heart. The iconic music video for Stressed Out that we all know and love that sees the boys re-experiencing life as kids before growing up realizing they need to wake up and become adults. Lane Boy follows Tyler and 2 guys, Fame and Success, in hazmat suits who view Tyler as toxic for not staying in his lane. Either way, those 2 things follow Tyler's every move to see if he slips up and bows to the industry. Ride is down in the forest where the video transitions between night and day as it goes on, where he finds himself to be carefree in the daytime and anxious at night. Finally, Heavydirtysoul begins the cinematic lore-heavy videos we'll discuss shortly. This brings us to the Trench era, represented by green and yellow colors where Tyler fights back against Blurryface, serving as a rebel. The duo began wearing green jackets, rocking a partially shaved head like they're fresh out of the army. It's a war zone in Dima as seen in the music videos and live performances. Besides those visuals, My Blood is the defensive family. Chlorine introduces a small alien creature Ned that Tyler repeatedly feeds almost in an endless cycle of creativity. It completely drains Tyler by the end. The Hype is this showing of their growth when they're just a small piano band to this global sensation, with emphasis being put on the fact that at the end of the day, it's just 2 dudes doing all this. It always has been. In comparison to Scaled and Icy, that almost feels like it's being run by a machine, as no matter what occurs, something just doesn't feel right. Even the logo gets swapped to something completely different. This blue trident that tells us that someone else is in control. The overly colorful outfits the boys are forced to wear where they just look uncomfortable in every photo. It demonstrates that everything here is propaganda delivered by the bishops of Dima, with Shy Away looking like every 2000s punk video ever. Choker feels like a dream where Tyler wants to embrace its creativity through the interests of Trash the Dragon as seen on the album cover, but ends up getting caught. being sent back to reality where he's under control. It's only until Saturday where he's really set free. Closing out the last era, Clancy, with a black and red color to once again represent that rage to get revenge and end the Blurryface story. Remember how each album on streaming services had red tape attached, almost as like a symbol of the Banditos taking over. This is what we get musically as Overcompensate, Midwest Indigo, Navigating, Snap Back, Lavish, Oldie Station, and Paladin Straight have this feeling of moving forward, making things right, snapping back, and confronting your demons. Unfortunately, there's still that anxious side of Tyler lurking where he isn't always confident in his abilities that cause him to backslide, lose his progress, displayed on Next Semester, Backslide, Routines in the Night, Vignette, The Craving, and At the Risk of Feeling Dumb. It's like Tyler's fighting off his demons one by one, leading up to the final battle with Blurryface. We get music videos for each song that are mostly minimalistic, but tell a proper story. Through their artistry and visuals, it's not only made for great costumes, but incredible storytelling. Speaking of stories, it's about time we get into what brings people closer to a musical act than storytelling? The lore for 21 Pilots music has expanded more than a decade now, with a lot of questions that still need to be answered. It's no secret that their discography is quite connected with each other, meaning that a song from Self-Titled could have some sort of connection with a song from Clancy. One moment from their early days could have some sort of connection with a frame from a recent music video. The group makes sure to apply these clues to keep the conspiracy theorist society that is the Skeleton Clique busy and engaged. Now, we won't be talking about all the connections. That'd be at least another hour of content that I'm not gonna have the time for. But I definitely want to tap into the ongoing lore storyline surrounding 21 Pilots' output. If you're not already a certified lore expert, feel free to skip to the next section with this timestamp to avoid getting spoiled. This story takes place in the city of Dima, which is part of the continent of Trench, introducing us to the main character played by Tyler named Clancy, who is a fairly local resident of Dima known for his habit of illustrating his experiences in the city. His letters are published on the website dimaorg.info along with other media. These experiences are also detailed in the album Blurryface. He gains insight into this world beyond the walls of Dima known as the Outside. Now, residents are not allowed to leave the city, but Clancy has a plan, and it will take place on the night of the annual assembly of the Glorified, the yearly gathering of all the VIPs of Dima. This assembly is led by 9 bishops, who Clancy believes could be immortal entities who use psychokinesis to transfer from one body to another. The religion celebrated in Dima is Vialism, where the ultimate goal is to take one's life. The people who complete this goal join the Glorious Gone and are buried under a neon gravestone that is displayed somewhere in Dima. Their bodies are termed as free vessels for psychokinesis. Clancy's plan is to arrange a group of rebels and attempt to escape Dima at night to meet Banditos beyond the walls. The Banditos are the rebels aiming to cut ties and overthrow Dima as identified by their yellow tape. East is up is a code phrase used among Banditos to recognize each other. Their cry for help is Salo Folina. Unfortunately, Clancy is the only rebel who escapes and doesn't find any other Banditos nearby. This leads to Clancy being caught by the leader of the 9 bishops, Nicholas Bourbaki, or Nico, also known as Blurryface. Blurryface embodies Tyler's insecurities, making him his greatest threat, as described in Stressed Out. Nico drives Clancy back into Dima to keep him there, but Clancy won't go down without a fight. He tricks Nico into driving them outside the city where he causes a distraction leading to a fiery diversion that allows Clancy to escape the trench. After exploring the trench for a great amount of time, he grows weak. He finally spots the Banditos along a riverside. The leader of these Banditos is known as the Torchbearer, played by Josh Dunn, a mysterious man that can guide his friends without being there in physical form, but out of nowhere, he is captured by Nico, who smears him, causing these black marks to appear on Clancy's neck and hands. Fortunately, Clancy is able to escape once more when the Banditos shower him with petals to avoid the smear. As he dashes with all his might, he trips and is recaptured and taken back to Dima. Clancy spends several weeks locked up in a house of Heathens before coordinating with the Banditos to escape once more while the bishops are occupied with the vialism ceremony. The bishops bring Clancy to their camp where they produce rebellious music aimed at Dima, known as the album Trench, with the vulture on the cover Clifford being their symbol of unity. But yet again, the camp is ambushed, leading to Clancy being recaptured, admitting his defeat on Leave the City. Due to his music and letters, Clancy becomes a celebrity within Dima by the local citizens. The bishops exploit Clancy's fame, forcing him to write propaganda for them, resulting in Skeldonicy. They made him entertain and lie to the people of Dima, with No Chances being the bishop's theme song. He manages to conceal one hidden message: Clancy is dead, within the album title, almost as a way to distance his old, depressed self in place of a new Clancy that is strong and determined. Clancy participated in the feature performance event on Good Day Dima to perform Choker, but spends most of it remembering the Trench sessions. The show is hosted by two bishops who use psychokinesis to control the bodies of two corpses, Dan and Sally, of the Glorious Gone, which slowly decay and fall apart as the show progresses. Eventually, the annual assembly of the Glorified comes around that takes place on a submarine outside Dima. During a performance of Saturday, Clancy's bishop, Keons, betrays Nico by using psychokinesis to possess the dead body of Sea Dragon Trash, making him attack the submarine, freeing Clancy and the Torchbearer. This results in Keon's death. Clancy and the Torchbearer rush ashore on an island of violence near Trench, Volsoy, and encounter a bunch of Neds that grant Clancy the ability to use psychokinesis. He uses this newfound power to control Keon's corpse and ignite a fire in Dima. After multiple years, Clancy maps out a plan to return to Trench to use this new ability against the bishops and put an end to their reign. He crosses the Paladin Strait on a boat with the Torchbearer to Dima while singing their Bandito theme. Clancy employs psychokinesis to possess a glorious Gone and create his own propaganda through anti-Dima lessons within the city, sparking a rebellion among citizens. These rebels wear red tape. Clancy eventually leaves the possessed body and returns to his own as he and the Torchbearer arrive on the shores of Trench. The two, alongside other banditos, navigate to a meeting spot where Clancy meets the Torchbearer? That's right, Josh Dunn doesn't exist after all. The Torchbearer Clancy was venturing with since Levitate was just a force meant to guide him. The real Torchbearer had actually been leading the banditos in Trench the entire time. This is where the lore ends for now as we await the Paladin Strait music video, where I'm just gonna assume Clancy finally confronts Nico. Then we get another album! Possibly, just a theory. It's a storyline that has kept millions of people engaged in this world created by this band, increasing their respect and love for the creativity. A storyline based around the struggle of one's insecurities and confronting them. Slow down on Monday. The final positive I want to talk about is their community as a whole. 21 Pilots have built themselves by far one of the most dedicated fan bases in the entirety of music. It's certainly not perfect, we'll get to that, but there's a lot of great things that came out of it. The Skeleton Clique is the name for their fan base that originated during the Regional Best era, given the boys' skeleton hoodie attire. This was changed a bit during the Blurryface era, as the new mask point out Josh was seen as an alien and Tyler was still the skeleton. You can easily tell someone is part of the Skeleton Clique if they cross their O's and call someone their friend. The community has certainly evolved since those days, leading to the launch of their Discord server, Amino page that I spent too much time on back then, Reddit, fandom page, and so much more. The clique is filled with the most creative people you'll find on the internet, the fan illustrations you'll find, the CIA, FBI lore deep divers you'll find, the meme pages like Pillow Pilots you'll find, the cosplay fits you'll see at concerts, and overall dedication to support the band that saved them. There are decade-long fans that have spent their entire life getting other members involved, whether it's for the use of TikTok or Twitter. My friend Tina and her other clique friends spent 4 days cutting 10,000 pieces of paper, coordinating as many people as possible to hold up specific colors for each section during Mulberry Street. If that doesn't show dedication, I don't know what does. They feel this need to show their thanks for Tyler and Josh for their years of sacrifice to keep them alive. The band endorses their fan base, reposting their accomplishments and having these personal moments with them when they can. Sure, we'll never beat the cult accusations, but there's this feeling of friendship, encouragement, and love as we fight off our our insecurities, our own blurry faces, just to stay alive. Without a crowd, there's no show. The band is grateful for the fans they have that have allowed them to tour worldwide, create stories, become the first musical act to have every single song on an album be certified gold twice, earn billions of streams across all platforms, and give the band this feeling of relief knowing that they have changed millions of lives just through their music. They love everyone, no matter who they are. It's fair to state that throughout this entire video, I'm the only one that has given my why here to somehow represent the rest of the Skeleton Clique. It does put a pressure on me. I'm sure I've forgotten something along the way. There's just too much to like about this group, which is why I want to turn it over to some other people. Nobody takes over a city like 21 Pilots. This band has always been known for their strength as a two-piece, but it's never been clear. No opener, no pre-show playlist, no confetti, CO2, no rides, stressed out heathens, but there's no complaints when this show was over. A truly special night, and I got a drumstick. I think 21 Pilots have an unmatched connection with their fans, from their frank yet relatable lyrics about mental health to their unmatched live experience, which relies heavily on fan interaction. For me, I find their music as an ability to transport me into another place. Whether this is the vast landscapes of Trench or dark, lonely nights described in Vessel, it's this imaginative writing that means even fans who don't resonate with their Christian themes like myself are still able to connect with their tracks. Their ability to mix multiple genres as only a two-piece band makes everything they do even more impressive. In a single song, you might hear elements of rap, pop, indie, alternative, or rock music. Ultimately, I find this band generates feelings of hope and community, from Stay Alive for me to We're 21 Pilots and So Are You. Even as fans' music tastes change, 21 Pilots' ability to evolve with them means they're never too far away. It's this longevity that makes them mean so much to so many people. I've been a fan since I was like 9, and they're really what got me into music. I honestly would have expected by now to have maybe moved on or not enjoy their music anymore, but that isn't the case. There's really no other artist or band that I've found such a close connection to. The relatability that I and many others find in their stuff is unmatched, man, and that's a big reason they're still my favorite band today. One could argue that their music just isn't for them, and that's okay. But it's hard to deny the impact they've had on their fans through their music, so I feel like that alone proves their music has worth. They're also insane musicians. I'm blown away every time they drop, regardless of the sound they're going for. I've always said that growing up, a lot of the time it's hard to cite proper diction to a lot of the emotions you might be feeling and dealing with. Whether that's learning how to navigate your own psyche or finding yourself in the midst of a journey, with 21 Pilots in particular, they were not only the first band, but the first people in general who I could explain how I was feeling and walk through it. With that, I became addicted. For me, it mainly connects back to the physical disability I have. I was born with a condition called cerebral palsy, and throughout my life, used various mobility aids and everything to get around. My balance and gait is heavily impacted by my CP, and so I've always stood out in crowds for being different, and there have been a lot of really bad experiences in my life because of it. I ended up developing depression and anxiety because of everything I went through, and in my teenage years began to become extremely insecure about everything. Most music on the radio is kind of overwhelmingly positive or about love or partying and a bunch of things that I just didn't vibe with at all. But one day I heard Ride on the radio in very early 2016, and I loved how it sounded. So when I learned the lyrics, I learned what Tyler was talking about, and I just felt kind of seen and heard. When I dive further into discography, I learned about the character Blurryface, and it really changed my life. I know Tyler doesn't share my struggles physically, but knowing that he wanted to specifically put a voice to his insecurity and address it head on was really meaningful to me. He was the only person I felt understood how big of an impact that insecurity could have on one's life. Plus, I loved how their music sounded, so it was a win-win situation. I was previously already in a lot of online fandoms, but I found the clique in their online presence to be awesome because it was a bunch of people who also loved 21 Pilots. Maybe not for the exact reasons I did, but nonetheless there was a connection there. And when I saw them live in September of 2016 at a music festival, it was so amazing and just cemented them as my favorite band. The first time I heard 21 Pilots, a friend was blaring car radio in a parking lot, and I thought she was being rude, but the lyrics stuck in my head, and I later opened Spotify and started listening. Holding On to You made me feel something. Car radio made me think. I started teaching car radio in an intro to college course at the school when I talked about information literacy. I encouraged my students to think and to tune out distraction. My love grew as I dwelled more into their full catalog of songs, and for many reasons, but the biggest is that 21 Pilots has this ability to cut below the surface of a thought, explore it, develop it, and present it musically in a way that makes me feel something while also thinking something, and so few artists do that.
I know where you stand, silence.
As much as I love them, I'm also able to point out the flaws people have pointed out over the years. I don't agree with all of them, obviously, but they are the biggest complaints. Some are not all that impressed with the vocals of Tyler Joseph, especially during the pre-Blurryface days where his vocals hadn't fully matured. They found his use of vocal resonance to be nasal and annoying, almost sound like he has a stick up his ass. His quirky, awkward singing style on tracks like Slow Town and The Pantaloon come to mind. The overuse of autotune on the demo version of Trees and Lovely. Heck, most of the hate Regional Best gets is from the Vessel demos that are considerably less quality versions. They unsurprisingly find his rapping to be corny, over the top, and unnecessary. As for the production aspect, people have found self-titled to be straight up boring, instrumentally due to the piano rock aesthetic, criticizing the lack of diversity, but when they switched up on Regional Best and Vessel, adding more synth-pop elements, some internet critics weren't a fan either, calling the synth work dated and clumsy in tone. Blurryface came around and it was hounded even more for its integration of trap and reggae production that sounded like they were adding in too many instruments to the point where it's overwhelming and a complete mess. Trench basically had no complaints. Can't say the same thing about Scaled Nicely that even some fans were impressed by. I've seen TikToks of old fans calling themselves embarrassed that they used to be fans when this is what they're making now. The group was accused of selling out and saw the whole propaganda storyline as an excuse to appeal to the mainstream audience. Clancy has so far had similar criticisms to Blurryface for being a messy assortment of genres with poor pacing. And now for the lyrics that aren't entirely for everyone. Only few may understand. This has led to their lyrics being described as overdramatic, overly paranoid, cringe, fake deep, egotistical, corny, and making practically no sense sometimes. A reference to the Ice Cream song on Forest. I scream, you scream, you all scream cause we're terrified. Complete randomness on Slow Town. When using Pokemon cards, please do not use the holographics. The entire second verse of Lavish that even Genius doesn't understand how it could have made an album. Sip a Capri Sun like it's Dom Perignon. Keep it cool, keep the mood androgynous. I see your problem is your proctologist. Got both hands on your shoulder while you're bottomless. More cringe on Blurryface on how this is not rap, this is not hip hop, just another attempt to make the voices stop. I wasn't raised in the hood, but I know a thing or two about pain and darkness. Don't you test me, no. Just because I play the piano doesn't mean I'm not afraid to take you down. I'm sorry. The awkward use of homie and low-key on Good Day. Then Anthony Fantano accused Never Take It of being an anti-vaccine anthem. The most ironic lines have to be the ones about not being on the radio. Yo, this song will never be on the radio. Who know if I flow on a song will get no radio play? Given the fact that their songs were now being played on mainstream radio after Blurryface came out, it later saw Tyler regretting Saturday on Backslide. Who would have thought? Music is subjective though. Not everyone has the same opinion here. My defense of these lines? I don't know. They're funny. They build character. Sadly, it isn't always the music that draws people from the group. It can be the fans sometimes. Sorry, y'all. Especially during the peak of their fame, there are a lot of younger people in the group trying to fit in using band lingo obsessively, constant use of small bean, friend, and fetus. There's always going to be bad apples that are way too obsessive, stalkerish, and cringe. If you were to criticize the boys back then, you would be receiving death threats. The Skeleton Clique is extremely protective. Sadly, there's still toxicity brewing today with Brad refusing to cover their music after his negative Clancy review got backlash. I've also heard there's certain fans that are just straight up racist, bringing us to the incident. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna talk about it. Skip here if you don't want to be reminded. The band had a completely clean slate until the year of 2020, when Tyler made a big mistake. It was an awful year for everybody, with one of the biggest events being the death of George Floyd, leading to an all-time high in interest for the Black Lives Matter movement. It resulted in millions asking their favorite influencers to use their platforms to speak on the issue to bring awareness. On September 1st, 2020, Tyler tweeted, "You guys keep asking me to use my platforms. Feels good to dust these bad boys off." I didn't understand the joke at first as I'm not familiar with shoe types. It was supposed to be a joke about his fans begging him to use his social media platforms and flexing his platform shoes instead. I'm guessing that Tyler assumed everybody knew his position. While a few thought it was funny, the majority didn't, resulting in Tyler being slandered across the internet. It likely lost them a lot of fans and did more harm than good to the fanbase in general. Their entire Discord got locked down due to the outrage. Eventually, Tyler apologized for his horribly timed joke and finally used his platforms to spread awareness. Since then, he has continued to show love to the black community as well as defending well-known Clicky Che when she was facing harsh treatment. I'm just glad Tyler took responsibility and learned from his mistakes, showing that he cares for his fans. He wants everybody to feel comfortable. You may not be a fan of his, but you gotta admit that Tyler and Josh are some damn good dudes. Their music has changed millions of lives. At the end of the day, that's all that matters, bringing people together. Wow, I've had to make an outro for this, but I just want to say, y'all, I don't know if you made it to the end of the video. This is like an hour long. I had too much to say. I seriously appreciate everyone that watched this video. I just wanted to dedicate my love to 21 Pilots and just everything they've done to me over the 8 years I've been a fan of them. Like, they're a band that's just been with me for so much of my life, and I really appreciate them. And this is truly the hardest that I have ever worked on a video before. I hope the results are worth it. I hope this is my absolute best. Like, I just really want to perfect this. I really wanted to make this right. This band's really important to me and past all expectations, and I know I ain't perfect, no one is, but and hey, if the band see this, Tyler, Josh, love y'all. It's just like looking back on these songs, wow, I've come so far in life. Like, I used to be in such a worse place. I used to be, so go back to all of these memories and stuff. It's like, wow, I've come so far as a person, and I really appreciate you guys. Love y'all, man. I wasn't sure how I was gonna make this, but I'm glad I did. This group has got me through so much. Like, when I was like very depressed in middle school and high school, like, this was the band that I went to, and it helped me out with so much, just growing up and just knowing that, you know, everything's gonna be okay, and they're 21 Pilots, and so am I. Really appreciate everyone that came through and watched all the way through. I don't know how many people actually did. I hope you all enjoyed this and you don't think I'm a crazy person. I love and appreciate y'all. So make sure to love all and stay alive, friends. Peace.